What is up, guys? Evanaldo here. Welcome back to the to the channel. Wanted to give you guys an update here, the latest trades. So obviously the East Short, big winner right there, and got two longs in because obviously a lot of this is hedging the bet, and I do think that we will come up more upward in the short term. I'll talk about these a little bit more and why I think that. It could take some time to play out. Obviously, this time of year is generally a little bit slower, a little less trading volume, but I could see within a week, 2 weeks, a nice jump up, maybe even up to 102, 108K. That's kind of been my target. So yeah, if you guys are interested in trading, check out BloFin, TapBit, and BidFi. There's some really good trading bonuses. Deposit 7K to get 1K. You get 20% off your fees for life only with my link if you sign up to any of these exchanges down below. And good deposit bonus over here on BidFi as well. Deposit 20K, get 2K. And then TapBit, they're not showing it, but they do have a deposit bonus as well. So if you guys deposit at least $150 on any of these exchanges, an open support ticket in the Discord through your UID or your email, we'll give you one free month in there. We'll get you sorted. So let's get into why I think that we may jump up to 108K. So, double bottom right here. You got money flow coming up on a lot of these time frames over on Bitcoin and technical target 102, which is a huge area. 108, I would think, is the really momentous point where if you can break above 108 and hold it, then you may be on to, new all-time highs at some point early next year or, some point in quarter one. So that's the important point there. So yeah, and I mean, deep anchor waves right here. So I would argue that you got a good shot of, continued. I think we're, it could be kind of in this area, some choppiness. He came up a little bit higher, then he kind of fell off a cliff. Or it could be more similar to kind of here. So you had that relief, and then you up, and, it takes its time, which I kind of guess it would be maybe, kind of more like that. Like if you come up to that 108, like let's see here, 108, and then you come back down, you know what I mean? Like it's going to take, I would think the earliest would kind of be May that I would see us like potentially bottoming out. Latest would be kind of October. Somewhere between like 60 to 40K would be my, educated guess here on what I think would happen. It would be like 60% down, 50 to 60% down would be my guess. Last time it was 75%, institutional interest, diminished returns also means, diminished returns in the bull run also means diminished losses, in the bear market. So there are those points. Short term, you probably could be choppy. I don't know. It's end of the day right now. Probably will break up. I do think you will eventually break upward here after some more choppiness, boringness. People are getting a little bit fatigued. I think there's still probably obviously more fear in the market. If you jump up to an OK, I could see that being neutral, kind of on fear and greed on that index, and that potentially could be a catalyst to bring you back down. So ultimately, what could you do right here? I do have the trades in the Discord, but I'll give you a little bit of a freebie on what I would look at here. You could go like this. This is not a good risk one-to-one risk correlation. Not terrible, but not the most ideal. If you want to get 2-to-1, you could go like that. If you want to try to stretch it to 108K, you could do something like that. That's almost a 2-to-1. Something like that's kind of what I would be looking at right here. So yeah, let's move on to Ethereum. Money flow coming up here. This 5-day looks pretty good. I do think that you could potentially run up to 35 to 37. This money flow is coming up right there. Let's see here. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Just for the short term, I don't think you're going to break much above 37. Like if you can, that's where it gets good. And that's where potentially you could go up to freaking 5,800 sometime in quarter one or quarter two or whatever. There's that potential, but I think, you're probably not going to be able to break above and hold 3,700. But if you do, then I would be pleasantly surprised and probably change a lot of my techniques. And the thing too is if you look at both on ETH and Bitcoin, and especially Bitcoin, let's just go back there quickly. Look at these EMAs. They get all kind of gray right here. They get gray right here. It's always a good buy signal. When they get gray, it's normally a good buy signal, but in the bear market, not so much, because if you go all the way back here, look at this. That was in the bear market, and then very similar situation, but back here in this bear market. So you kind of have to be patient with it. But if these turn bright again, which I could see them turning bright if we run up the past 112, 116 up to 120 in January, February, then yeah, I would definitely get back in. That'd be a good place to get back in whenever that may happen, whenever they turn bright again. Whether that happens at 60K, 40K, 20K, whatever. I don't think we're going to 20K. I think 40 to 60K is my most educated guess here. But that's kind of what I would say. And the thing too is if you just look at, let's do a little a little bro science, bro finance, a little technical, that would be 60, kind of this breakdown. If you eventually do break down past, like 77, which I think you will eventually. So that's what I would be looking at. ETH versus Bitcoin, I think, is pretty important to look at because just keep an eye on what this can do. I mean, if this can outperform Bitcoin on as we were in a bear market in a lot of, the end of 2019, early 2020, if ETH can outperform Bitcoin, in this area as we come up, as we, go forward here, even if the markets do come down, which they likely will, that would be really momentous for Ethereum, and it could potentially, look at how long it outperformed Bitcoin here for quite some time from there to, all the way this area. So 27, 28. I mean, I don't know if you're ever going back up to these highs. That'd be crazy. But you could go back up to these highs if ETH, does prove itself and survives. I do have some concerns with it, especially if you can't, I guess, continue to generally outperform Bitcoin over the next 4 to 6 months, especially with an end to QT. It just ended a few days ago. So I think that would be the important part. A couple other ones. I mean, Solana, I think for any altcoin, anything that could outperform, Bitcoin over the next 4 to 6 months probably will do well in the next bull run, most likely. Solana, I could see going up to one price somewhere in these points, 170, 160. I don't know exactly, but I think, your technical target for this would probably be around, 164 or something. I think you got a good shot at that, and then potentially we'll, come down farther. If we look at others versus Bitcoin, that's an interesting one. I do think this could drop back down to maybe this area, if we do see more of a Bitcoin dominant, rally upward to 108K or whatever. I would imagine more people would be putting money into Bitcoin than alts at the moment, but we'll see what happens. It doesn't look too good in the weekly. I would guess that could be the bottom. And, last time, the thing too, end of QT, it's probably, history would tell you more like something like this, I guess from that, I don't know what bottom we want to look at, but, that area, I think this can do kind of well. I think at this point, everybody's got PTSD from alts. Now, it doesn't mean you go crazy into alts right now. You'll probably lose money, but, 4 to 6 months, anything that outperforms Bitcoin probably's got a good shot. And Ethereum would be the less risky out of any alt, obviously. So just keep that in mind. Bitcoin dominance, I don't know. I feel like this wants to generally come down, but there could be jumps here in the short term, maybe back up to 62, 63. So we shall see what ends up happening. This potentially could come down farther, so we shall see. I think it generally will come down. It's kind of similar to that area last time they ended QT. And a couple things here. Gold versus S&P 500. Brights on the monthly. This, if you can break above that COVID high, I would like to break above that COVID high. That would be really good. I do think gold at this point, I think it's risky not to have any gold, in my opinion, at this point. I'm not saying put everything into gold, but I think it's kind of risky not to have gold, given, these rare bullish signs on this monthly right here. It's even better on gold versus triple Q. I don't know if you're going back to those highs, but I think if you can hold kind of where we are right now, money flow looking good. There's a lot of potential right here. Definitely a lot of potential. Gold itself a little overheated, but not that bad. Nothing looks like, if you look at the, I feel like this will get it pulled back, maybe all the way back to 3,000 or something. Who knows? But, when you look at like gold versus triple Q, let's just look at this. 2022, gold did very well against the triple Q, even in most of 2018. Well, you did have that jump in 2018 too, so maybe we continue here. I think this is more of a, especially with inflation, still kind of at that 3% without much of the attempt or gold even bring that down to the 2%. I do think gold will kind of stay strong. So, be careful with it, but I do think that gold is generally, something that can do pretty well. If we look at gold versus Bitcoin, here's where it gets scary for, a lot of Bitcoin fans, because gold, Bitcoin barely made a new high against gold here, barely made a new high, and now you're kind of jumping up. I think this can, jump farther kind of against Bitcoin. Look at this pattern, 4, 300, 600, 400, 300, 200 maybe this time, I don't know. From that low there, maybe up to these points, and then I would look to maybe convert some gold back into Bitcoin. You could kind of play around with these things, gold, S&P 500, real estate, things that generally trend up over time, convert them back to Bitcoin when their evaluations are good. So keep that in mind. I don't know, gold, Berkshire Hathaway versus gold, that was one of the things, snake eyes right there I found in 3 week. Who knows if that's going to play out in the monthly. Deep Bank Roy, maybe Berkshire Hathaway could have a good, 2026, just like it had a pretty good 2022, 2018 against Bitcoin, gold, and the NASDAQ, that's kind of what I've been looking at here. I just want to look at the NASDAQ itself quickly just to show you against the US dollar. And where is it? Money flow kind of coming down, maybe a trigger wave forming in that 2-day to the downside. It doesn't look very attractive to me. That could be it could have been the yearly high for a while here. If you do run the table, you can make a higher high, 647, but I do think when you look at some of these larger time frames, we are pretty overheated. I do think, maybe a drop back to 536, which wouldn't even be that crazy, 15% down in the coming months. I could definitely see that happening into May. You get a new Fed share then things reverse down a little bit. 15% down is always a pretty good deal for the NASDAQ. I mean, obviously here it was much worse than that, but 15% down historically has always been 15 to 20. I mean, these were worse, but I mean, who gets in at the exact bottoms? You know what I mean? 15% down, normally pretty good. Palantir, I do think this is very overheated. I've talked about this a lot. I do think this will be one of Michael Burry's predictions actually does come true. One of the few in recent years, but I think this will, kind of come down with most other things, including probably gold in the, first, 4 to 6 months of next year. It's just kind of finding what thing comes down the least at this point. I think it's a lot of preserving value rather than, being greedy like a lot of people, kind of have been, but that's always, kind of how things are. But anyway, guys, I think that's all I pretty much have to talk about right now. Check out the Discord down below. Check out the exchanges down below. Sign up, a lot of good bonuses going on, and let me know in the Discord if you signed up and deposited at least $150. We'll give you a free month. So smash the like button, guys. I'll see you guys really soon. Goodbye.